Hi there, my name is Michael Giannotti and I'm a technology specialist for the Healthcare and Life Sciences group here at Microsoft. So I had a customer the other day asking me questions around Office 365 groups. And their questions really were twofold. Number one, they kind of wanted to understand a little bit about what is it that groups is and what's its intent. And their questioning really arose around the fact that they saw it being leveraged by many services, but they also knew that it had been released previously in a standalone mode. And they were looking for some understanding around that and some best practices, or at least some options that they could consider. So in my space, the customers I work with across the board all are subject to heavy compliance needs. And so there are some things that people look at and they get concerned about proliferation of content and others, and also the need to, leverage robust tools for security and compliance on those things to make sure that they are in turn compliant. And groups really helps across all those things. So let's take a quick kind of glance at them. First off, when we talk about Microsoft Office 365 groups, what are they? What do they do? Well, Office 365 groups provides security construct, a cloud-based security construct, and infrastructure for collaboration services, right? So what it does is when you spin up a group or when a collaboration service such as Microsoft Teams or Microsoft Planner, when it's spun up and spins up that group, first of all, it creates that cloud-based security entity that's going to allow you to add users and others and manage them within that context to provide access to the resources that those people need to leverage within those collaboration services like Teams, Planner, Power BI, etc. So you get that security container. Next, what you get is a set of services, kind of infrastructure services that underlie those collaboration pieces to really help facilitate them using best of breed services that already fall under our very rich security and compliance solutions such as data loss protection, e-discovery, advanced e-discovery. There's many more, right? So there's a lot of services out there. I probably need to drink some more coffee, but we have a lot of services that already fit on those. So for example, when we spin up, I'll just use Teams as the example. When I spin up a Microsoft Teams instance, what happens? Well, I not only get that real-time messaging, but that messaging, those messages, instead of just going bye-bye to provide that persistence, we store the messages where? In Exchange, in hidden folders. For when we spun up that site, we not only got that security context, but it was email enabled. And so there are hidden folders there where we store that. Why is that important? When you need to do e-discovery, when you need to do things like data loss protection and others, retention policies, we can go ahead and apply those because we're already doing that, and those things, Exchange already falls under that. It's not a new entity. Furthermore, when we attach attachments to conversations or chats, or we add files to the file repository, where are we storing that? We're storing it in SharePoint/OneDrive. Again, baseline services that already are subject to our security and compliance tools. And as we roll out new services, we have things like Planner, where you want to be able to have some elements of calendaring, and you want to also do things with the storage of document attachments, etc. Again, those baseline services are there, as well as that security context, so you can control who has access to and can see those plans. And it goes on and on and on for our collaboration services. So as we bring new ones online, you know that we can do so with a level of confidence, understanding that as we leverage groups to provide that under the hood, your security and compliance needs are met. So what are some best practices though? Because certainly when groups first came out, it preceded many of the collaboration services we're talking about. And having done so, there are folks who maybe just left it so people could self-provision and do other things, and then they get a little confused. What do I use, when, and where? Do I use Teams or a group? Do I use SharePoint or a group-enabled SharePoint site? Do I use, Planner, or do I create a group and a bunch of tasks and stuff in the group? So here's my advice based on my customer base and the interactions I see with them. You can draw your own conclusions, follow the prescriptive guidance that I'm providing below this particular post, so that I don't want you to just hear Mike's opinion, but get the actual documentation from Microsoft. That is from the horse's mouth, and that is your bottom line. But having said that, some of my advice: number one, turn off self-provisioning of groups. That does not disable the ability to spin up if you want to have self-provisioning of Teams or Planner or others. That can all be controlled as well. And again, the link below on managing, so you don't have to deal with sprawl. We've got you covered there, right? So you can go ahead and you can either selectively allow self-provisioning of various Microsoft collaboration services while having group self-provisioning turned off. That way, for users, groups is merely a background infrastructure piece they don't even need to be aware of, they don't need to get confused with, and you don't have to try to deal with, oh my goodness, people are going in and just creating all these groups and they don't even know what to do with them, but they want a team and they want this and they want that. That's one thing. Number two, if you have people who've created a lot of these to facilitate collaboration, and now they're looking at teams and they're like, oh my goodness, what do I do? Well, take a look. Number one, when you go and provision a Microsoft team, the Teams team, they rock, they got you covered, right? When you go to provision one, what does it give you options for? From scratch or from an existing Microsoft team / from a Office 365 group. So you can provision now teams to, again, push that group to the back end, front end it with Microsoft Teams, and get people where they need to be using Teams for that collaborative level of focus. It's also going to bring together other services like Planner and others in a cohesive environment. So turn off self-provisioning. That's my number one piece of advice. It's down below. For my customers, that's something that we've been talking about actively. And then, continue to move forward with these other collaboration services, understanding they're leveraging the power and the compliance of Microsoft Office 365 groups under the hood for those primary things around messaging and document storage. So just some food for thought. Again, all the documentation with much better and much lengthier explanations is below on this post. Take a look at it. I promised my one customer I would do this video. I'm 2 days late, but promise is kept. So here you go. For the rest of you, if you have questions about groups, if you have questions about Microsoft Planner, around Microsoft Teams and other collaboration services, don't hesitate to ask. Right below in all of our posts, we have an area where you can add comments. Feel free to reach out, not only to myself, but to all my colleagues in healthcare and life sciences who absolutely rock and can not only talk to you here virtually on our site, aka.ms/HLS blog, but can also talk to you on site across the greater U.S. With that, this is Mike Giannotti for Healthcare and Life Sciences, Modern Workplace, bidding you have a great day. Take care, and as always, ciao.